The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions.
Any references to actual people are wildly inaccurate. It's probably best if you don't listen at all. The Roaring Peacock Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Roaring Peacock Youth Podcast, episode 4. We've done a whole month of these, boys. I'm proud of that. Are you?
Fucking lovely, mate. Loving it.
I'm Coach Rost. That was Cookie. You heard them.
Hello.
And also joining us is Rob.
As always, a pleasure.
Bit of a different pod this week. There's no game. Got called off because of the weather. Apparently, Wolves can't put a pitch on. Was it a Wolves? I'm assuming it was Wolves. Was it?
Yeah. You'd have thought it was at Elland Road if they were getting called off for a pitch inspection until we got the new one.
So there's no match review this week. So the kids had a week off, but there will be a match preview as we're playing Sunderland this coming week on the 1st.
Sunday,
1st of Feb. Yeah, a couple of days away from now. We're going to do loan watch, in-depth loan watch, because we've got tons of players on loan, about 7 or 8, I think, from the Youth Academy. And we're also going to do our player profile this week on Cody Drameh, the summer signing from Fulham.
Yeah. Is it drama? I don't know.
Tom says Drameh actually on the commentaries.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bow to his superior knowledge, I think.
Sound. We'll go with Tom there.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Thank you very much, Tom, if you are listening, for joining us last week. It was really good. Where should we start, boys? What do you want to do first?
Maybe we can start with my absolute ignorance. I thought the Sunderland game was on Monday. Has it been moved?
It's on Sunday, and I'm sure it is. Unless it's
on the 1st.
Oh,
Monday,
no, it was on Monday then.
Monday, 1 o'clock. You both had me going west then. I was like, what is
do
happening?
you know what that is, mate? Genuinely. And I know we're recording, but that's that the Leeds United u23s fixtures haven't been updated on the website. It must have been moved because of other games. So the actual Leeds United website has it on, or had it on the Sunday. In fact,
I'm pleased to know that I'm not going insane, and it is on Monday.
Yeah, it says Sunday 31st of Jan, so they must not have updated it.
Yeah,
so,
1st of Feb,
enough.
1 o'clock. So yeah, make sure you tune into the YouTube channel to watch that. We might as well start with the preview, shall we? We're playing Sunderland. They are currently 10th in the table. They've only played 10 games, which is 3 less than us, but they do not draw. They've won 5 and lost 5, scored 23, conceded 24. So it goes one of 2 ways for Sunderland. It's going to go our way, isn't it? They're not very good, I don't think.
I'm pretty confident it'll go our way. If you look at the last time we played and we won 3-1, close to the start of the season, the man Sam Greenwood, who started at Sunderland, had a very happy return, bagged a hat-trick. I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, he scored a free kick. He scored a couple with his left foot, one with his... I think the free kick was his right foot, just off the top of my head. It was a really good all-round performance, and we've gotten a lot stronger since then, defensively. So I would expect a pretty big win, if I'm honest with you.
Drameh also got sent off in this game as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that. This is the man we're featuring today, just like coincidence and magic. This was the game. For me, this is the game where he turned it around. After this game, I thought he'd looked a little bit, not poor, because that's a bit harsh on the lad. It's a new team and all that. But he hadn't looked like what was bought, if that makes sense, or what was promised.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, none of the team looked good in the 4-0 loss to Stoke. Then we drew with the Wolves. And then after... just seemed to click after he got sent off when he came back from his suspension from the Norwich game onwards. Really, he looked sharp. So yeah, it's a good tie in that.
It's going to be a much different team that played. The team that played that game had Matthias Bogus in it. Jamie Shackleton played central midfield. Leif Davis played as well. So and Casey Sutton in central midfield. So it's a bit of a different team this time. A lot of those guys have progressed or have been sent out on loan, so it'll be interesting to see how the new additions fit in and how they get on.
Yeah, and I think Casey's just gone out on loan, has he? Or he's going out on loan, I think.
It's rumoured that
Phil
he is off somewhere. Yeah,
Phil tweeted somewhere that he was going on loan. I can't remember where it was to. Mostly because I was no longer on Twitter when he tweeted it.
I think it's rumours. I mean, it's probably got substance to it, but I think they're shopping him, or they've got obviously a club in mind that they want to send him to.
I think he's trapped between 2 worlds, isn't he? He's not. I don't think he's good enough for the first team, but I think he's progressed as far as he can do in the youth team.
Yeah, I mean, he's first choice centre half there, isn't he? Yeah, he definitely needs some first team minutes. That'll make or break whether or not he's probably capable of that step up to the next level. Maybe needs a bit of what Ben White's had, go down, come through the leagues, see whether that develops his capability. A lot of people will unfairly judge Casey, I'm sure, on the Crawley game, which is ridiculous. But he does, to me, just with Casey, just looks like he lacks a little bit of pace. But Who knows? We might see him progress a bit.
He reminds me a bit of those League Two centre backs, the League One centre backs that we used to have, like Lubo Mikulik and players like that. Just he's a very big lad, isn't he?
He's a unit.
He's got the pace, yeah. So he's off on loan. It's going to be a win, isn't it? They're not very good. If they have a win or draw, we tend to just win more than often than not.
You'd like to think so. I think on paper, like, it looks comfortable. We're at home. Record's good. It should be. It should be signed, sealed, and delivered. But you never know, do you?
I think the biggest question. The biggest question. I think we've got great home form, obviously, but since the last time we played at home, the pitch at Thorpe Arch was pretty poor last time, and it's taken a bit of a kicking from the snow and the continuing rain that we've had. So I'm sure the ground staff, will be doing a great job in trying to recover it and keep it a decent pitch. But as we know, Bielsa ball and poor pitches don't really go hand in hand, and they do play Bielsa ball in the under-23s. So it'll be interesting to see what the pitch looks like, what the style of play looks like, what approach maybe Jacko takes with his team, and whether or not we'll see the feature of any first teamers, or whether it will be a solid under-23s, because I think last week we definitely expected a solid under-23s with the Premier League game. So it'll be interesting to see who starts the game. But I think it'll be mostly, if not all, under-23s.
We're playing the day before, aren't we? So first 11. So it'll be. Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be back to, or not back to, but dominated by youth, as opposed to having those kind of first 11 or. If Poveda or Costa or someone doesn't get minutes off the bench, they might drop down and make a 45-minute appearance. But other than that, I can see it being mostly the kids.
Yeah, I think your biggest question might be whether or not if Casey might be going out on loan, and with some of the other injuries to our defenders, whether you might see someone like the man we featured last week, Charlie Creswell, and maybe some of the other young lads like Niall Huggins, etc., might step up to the first team bench. And if there's a possibility of them being used, whether or not they'll play, etc. But I think normally he's pretty happy for him to play 2 games anyway when it's the young lads. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm going to confidently predict a Leeds victory. I'm going to just say the same score again, 3-1, I think. I'm
going to go 3-0 because the defence has improved so much.
True.
I was going 3-0 as well, my prediction.
Nice. Any goal scorers?
I'm the pessimist then, yeah. Another hat-trick for Greenwood.
Yeah, that's it. I'm agreeing with you. Another hat-trick. He's got to be up for it, hasn't he? I mean,
He's had a birthday this week as well.
Yeah, the lad is born and bred Mackham, like proper Sunderland lad. Went down to the dirty south and came back to us because he wanted to be back in the north. I think he's got to love going back to his hometown club, hasn't he? You've got to, just to show him what they've lost a little bit. Although I'm sure he's got respect for him. He left on good terms.
Yeah. Let's move on to some loan watch then. So I've got a big list of all the players that we've got out on loan. We've currently got 6, 8, 10 players on loan, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them on loan, sorry. Let's start with Mateusz Bogusz, who, when he was brought in, and if you believe Football Manager, he is a wonder kid and he is one to watch for the future, but it doesn't seem to have really ever happened for him, does it, so far? He's currently on loan at Logroñés.
Yeah, I mean, I really rate him. He obviously scored that goal in the pre-season tour, of Australia. He went with the first team squad. I think he's clearly rated. He looks like he's doing all right over there now on his loan. He's started a lot of games recently, hasn't he? And I think been contributing quite a bit. But yeah, he's still a young lad, isn't he? How old's Bogusz at the moment?
I think he's only just turned 19.
Yeah, so still plenty of time. I think he's got a lot of capability. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I like him. I was surprised he went out on loan. I thought he might try and progress him in the under-23s internally. But I guess we should also say get well soon, because if you believe Twitter, I don't know if it's true, but apparently he's out with COVID at the minute. So he'll be out for a few 10 to 14 days, I assume. I don't know what the Spanish protocols are. The protocols over there.
It felt for a period of time, didn't it? Like he was really, really close to, particularly when he was on that pre-season tour with the first team. Felt like he was really close to breaking through. I mean, I don't know maybe what's happened or.
Well, he played against Charlton, didn't he, in the last game of last season? Did he come on as a sub, I think, in that 4-0 victory against Charlton?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can't remember. If I'm honest, I was probably drunk.
He's doing what he needs to do whilst being out on loan, isn't he? If we're honest, he's knocking up some assists. I think he's featured, like you said, Cookie, heavily. He's been in pretty much, I think, all but 1 or 2 games since November. So yeah, I think he's doing what he needs to do. The always question I have with the loanees is I sometimes question the caliber of club that we loan these players to. It always seems, whether it's, we're going to move on to it, but Edmonton's recent switch, or in this case going to a League Two side, you would have thought there'd be maybe a Championship side that might want to give him some exposure, or at least. But I don't know whether it's that age-old thing. Is it development versus minutes? What is it that the youth setup or Bielsa sees that he wants from these players? Do they just need fitness? Do they need technical ability? Do they need a bit rough and ready and getting a battering in League Two? Or what do they need for basically to toughen them up or make them more stand out? Because some of the clubs that we loan these players to and that we've got people on loan at the minute seems questionable for me, but.
Yeah, you would assume we've got some links with some of these clubs, or it's to do with Orta's networks. But the thing with Bogusz is that, like, when you look at him as a player, he's very, very technically gifted for a young lad, very, very capable with both feet, and that therefore to me doesn't sound like you'd want him to develop in what would probably be a more technical league, which is over in Spain in La Liga 2. You would expect him maybe more to benefit from either League One or the Championship, where my feeling would be that he probably needs to get used to the more physical side of English football. In saying that, have you seen the lad? He is a fucking unit. I mean, he's not a small lad, is he, for his age? I mean, he's got to be 6 foot plus, built like a brick shit house, and has been since he was 17 years old, from what I've seen. So, who knows? But we've got to trust the men in charge, haven't we, that they're getting the right kind of development, and we'll see how he gets on.
Yeah, you mentioned one of the other boys there, Ryan Abington. He is currently on loan at Northampton. He's not played for them so far, but he spent most of the season on loan at Aberdeen. He's got 2 goals in 14 games, but he has played European football, which is not a lot.
And he was injured, wasn't he, as well? Was he injured?
Injured
for a piece,
It was strange that they brought him back to just send him back to Northampton. Does it feel like his time has kind of come and gone at Leeds? I know he's only 19, but I find it difficult to believe he's going to break into the first team.
I think it was at 2 or at 3 we spoke about this, and we looked at the growing number of people queuing up in front of him now. I think it was Cookie that raised the point, and it's a very valid one. We spoke about Greenwood, we spoke about Gelhardt. They seem to have more of an ability to flex their position. We've mentioned previously Greenwood can drop sometimes centre mid, not just number 10. He was all the way back in centre mid, and I don't know if Edmondson carries that same flexibility, but it does feel like, again, what we were just talking about, a strange move. Why bring him back from Aberdeen to send him to Northampton?
Weird, isn't it? But I mean, the thing is, you never really know, do you? I mean, if you look at Harry Kane as obviously the number 9 for England now, and he went out on loan to Leicester and wasn't really playing. We've got that famous picture of him sat on the bench here alongside Vardy. Millwall, and didn't do much. So you never know that they might just take a jump in the progression at some point. I think the worrying part for someone like Edmonton is he's clearly got capability, but is it because Aberdeen aren't good enough, or is it because he's not? Because I might get grief from anyone who watches from Scotland around the Scottish League, but I think it's fair to say most strikers that go there who struggle in England score a glut of goals up there. And the fact that he only got 2 goals in 14 games doesn't sound like someone who's ever going to be clinical. I think if you can't be clinical in Scotland, you're probably going to struggle in England. But at the same time, who knows where his development could take him. I never lose hope for all of them. I think like what Tom talked about last week, so many players in this academy, you don't just measure the success on whether they end up playing in the Premier League and or for Leeds. So whether or not they end up with proper professional careers, because many academy players don't. Do I think Edmonton will end up with a proper, decent professional career in some type of professional football? I absolutely do. Do I think it will be with Leeds? No, I don't.
Yeah. Good summary. Summarised everything.
Spot on. Next on the list, we've got Robbie Gotts, of course, who's been on loan to Lincoln, and then he's moved to Salford, unfortunately for him. It's a shame, isn't it? But he started well there. He played his first game last week. He got off with a debut goal. He also played right back and number 10 in that game. So he's older than a lot of these other guys. He's 21 now. It would be 22 this year. So it feels like a make or break time for him as well. But he's been around that first team squad, and maybe this is just a case of Bielsa saying, go and get some games, regardless of where it is, just go and play some football.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what you hear, it was Gotts who pushed for it, who wanted minutes, who wanted football. I genuinely think, I've got a lot of time for Robbie Gotts. I liked him for us. He looked very good against Arsenal in the Cup last year. And I know it's one game and you can't judge everyone on one game, but you can't have capability against that kind of opposition and not be a good player. Yeah. He's now regularly obviously playing in League Two. Again, he's one of these where, do I think he'll make it with Leeds? I'm not 100% sure, but simultaneously I could genuinely see Robbie Gotts doing a Calvin. Calvin was a fairly late developer, you know. He wasn't great at the start. Sorry, Calvin, I'm sure you're not watching, but if you were, a lot of Leeds fans wanted rid of Calvin early doors. Yeah. And
he could have gone the way of Moat and all the 100%. Other guys that didn't make it.
And I could see Robbie Gotts making it. I could definitely see him at the very least being a very competent championship level player.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to think he's got a career somewhere. He's not a terrible player. Again, whether it's at Leeds remains a big question mark. I just, again, question the selection of club, and it's not because, obviously, of who they are, but I don't get the... If he was, if he's wanting minutes, competitive minutes at a level that he wants him to play, then, I'm not saying he'll be going off to, like, a top-tier championship side, but a competitive League One side at least, to give him a little bit more edge, because that division is also, now technically brimming with much better quality than it was when we were in it. So, again, I just question the club selection, but again, we don't know the internal workings. It could be down to ties, it could be down to salary contribution, it could be down to, marketing, promotion reasons.
Maybe it's all a Gary Nev's compliments of Leeds. Maybe we've just done it as a favour back with his promos on Sky Sports. You could see Rad's doing that kind of deal, man.
Yeah, definitely.
It's weird though.
Lincoln are top of League One, Salford are just in the playoffs in League Two.
It was the timing was weird, Ross. From top of League One to down to League Two, but it just scored for Lincoln. He wasn't playing all the time, but he wasn't a sub all the time. He was playing enough games to warrant staying. It is a weird one,
and it wasn't one that Lincoln pushed him out either, was it? They didn't want him. So
we just pulled him back and sent him off to Salford. Yeah, so something has gone on there, maybe. Next on the list is Bryce Hosanna, whose Wikipedia page says he's got 5 A-star GCSEs and 4 A GCSEs. He is a clever boy. He's currently on loan at Bradford, where I'm assuming the educational levels aren't that high, so he must have been a genius for them. He's doing all right. He's played 8 games on loan. Bradford they're ticking along, aren't they, really?
He's injured,
doing what Bradford
I think. I'm sure he's injured at the moment.
My only worries with this young man, and I really like him, I do really like him, and he looks promising, is he seems to be a bit made out of cardboard at the minute. At such a young age. I think he had 2 middling style injuries, which is maybe not his fault. I'm not picking fault with him directly, but he's had a couple of injuries whilst he's been at Bradford. I think he missed 5 games or 4 games in a row, and they come thick and fast in League Two with all these little competitions they've got in the FA Vase or Trophy. And I think he got injured twice, and he was out for a large part of November, December. So
he had surgery last year as well, which is not good for a young man.
Yeah. No. When I actually put about the next breakout star on my old Twitter, and asked for comments for anyone other than the people I'd put primarily on there from our current academy, someone actually did message me, who was a Bradford fan, saying that we need to keep an eye on Bryce Hosanna because apparently he's the best player at Bradford, easily the best player in that league. I've not watched him at Bradford, if I'm honest, but it sounds like people rate him. Again, I'm not sure he makes it at Leeds, and like you say, he's another one of these with, unfortunately, legs made out of biscuits, which is sad for him, but I'm sure as long as he doesn't end up consistently getting injured, I'm sure he'll have a career in the Football League somewhere.
Yeah. It was a hamstring as well, which for a young man, again, it's not going to... That's with the level of fitness required, which he's got clearly, and he is a good player. Like I say, from very little exposure I've seen of him, and people talk of him highly. I like him. I do think he's got potential, but I think the fitness thing is a bit worrying if you're already that young and picking up hamstring injuries quite that regularly.
That can do your career quite quickly. Just look at Michael Owen. He was never the same, was he, after that? That one when he tried to run away from Jonathan Woodgate, ironically. His hamstring just went and that was it, next on the list, we've got Alfie McCalmont, who is currently at Oldham, just ripping it up, basically. There'd be nothing without him, unfortunately, because I'd like them to be nothing without him because of who's their manager. But he's keeping that man in a job, unfortunately. He scored 3 goals in 12 games for them this season on loan. I think he has got a career, a big career, possibly at Leeds as well. He's probably one of my favourites that's out on loan.
I'm with you on that, mate, 1,000,000%. I absolutely think that he's got the capability to come back to very much be either a backup to Calvin or even more so being what feels like Oldham have used him more as a box-to-box midfielder with some of the goals he's contributing. How How old is he now, Alfie? Is he 20?
Just 20, yeah, be 21 in March.
Yeah, so again, it might be a make or break season, but I definitely think he's got the capability. He stands out to me aside from Bogusz. I think him and McCallum are probably the two that stand out in the academy where you think they could definitely come back and have a career at Leeds. McCallum was rated extremely highly by Bielsa from what you hear. And I think, again, he was one like similar to Gotts, where he didn't go out because he was forced to go out. He went out because he wanted to get minutes, see whether he was capable, test himself. You've got to admire that. I definitely think he's got a future with the club, but we'll have to wait and see, as always.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of game time, isn't he? And like you say, he seems to be the linchpin for Oldham. Really, he's doing what's needed. He's popping up with assists. He's solid in the overall gameplay from the little match reports that I've read. And yeah, I like you boys. I think he's got one of the few on loan that could probably come back and stand the test of time a little bit in terms of either breaking into the first 11 subs or around that kind of teetering on the first 11 brink. Yeah. And Bielsa likes him. He's gone on record as saying he likes him and likes what he's going to do. So yeah, I think it's all looking good for Alfie at the minute.
He's a central midfielder, and we're crying out for those.
Yeah.
We don't do midfielders. What are they?
We don't. No, exactly.
He'll be converted into a centre half the way we're going.
Will be, yeah. Next up is Rafa Mojica, who kind of arrived and then immediately disappeared, and he's been on loan ever since. He's been for 3 different spells, one for Extremadura, one for Villarreal, which is a big club, and one for Oviedo, they're a decent sized club as well. So he's getting big moves on loan, but not really doing anything. It's quite hard to find stats for him for where he's been and gone.
Just don't ever see him coming back. Me, it feels like I know no one's another Usim boy or however you say his name that's gladly out of contract this year, but it feels like another one of them where we've brought him in maybe from that network, and sometimes they go wrong, from Orta's network, and he's maybe come in just not being good enough, gone back out on loan, and let's be honest, no one's really talked about him. No one's really considered him coming back. I don't see a future for him at Leeds.
He was, when we were talking a few weeks ago about sometimes earlier on before the gems started filling in Orta, and that we maybe got it slightly wrong. We were talking about the bigger names of like your Greenwoods and people coming in, and we thought we're doing it right. We're signing £1 million youth players, and we're going to feature one on this podcast, or a good decent chunk of money went on another youth player. With Mojica, he's the first name that came to mind when I thought someone that we signed that was like a bit of buzz, but it's just faded. The only thing I've seen of him was when, and it was kind of some bits going on Twitter, he scored a brace, and I think the LUFC website did a piece on it. He came on in a Copa del Rey game and scored 2 goals, but again, it was a flash in the pan, came and went, and no one's heard anything of it since. So I feel sorry for him, but he's clearly probably not good enough to be in the squad, is he?
Yeah. Who knows? He might surprise us, come out of left field and be a star man for us one day, but I won't get my hopes up.
No. Next up, we've got Jordan Stevens, another one I'm a big fan of. I think I've liked him when he came on a couple of times last season, actually. He made 5 appearances for the first team. He started the season on loan at Swindon, where he scored in his debut, and then played 13, 14 games for them. And he's gone and joined Hosanna at Bradford, who's only played 1 game so far, but I think he's got a big future in the game. Maybe, I don't see him being a Leeds player in the Premier League, but definitely good upper Championship level sort of winger. I think that's kind of where he could fit in nicely.
Yeah, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Jordan Stevens is the one who got in a bit of trouble for gambling ban from the game. Wasn't even allowed to do charity work for the club. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it wasn't allowed near the club, was it?
Yeah, it was stupid. But what I'd say is he's obviously got talent. He was brought in, wanted from... Where did we sign him from?
Forest Green.
Yeah, that was it. And there's something about him where it feels like on the personal side outside of football, maybe he lacks the resilience or struggles with the mental side of the game. And you never know, he might end up making it, but it doesn't feel to me like that'll be with Leeds. I think his off-field troubles seem to have gotten better. You haven't heard much about it recently, but he sounds like a lad who really struggles. He's talked a lot about struggling from being away from home. I could end up seeing him leaving Leeds just to go a bit closer to where he's from for comfort, and maybe he could fall off at Wagon, I'm not sure. But yeah, from what I've seen of him, he looks a decent player, but he's a diamond in the rough. He's one of those where you sign him from somewhere like Forest Green, and he either turns out to be absolutely amazing once he's been coached by decent coaches, not that Forest Green aren't, but proper top-level coaches, or they just get found out a little bit when they're with other players of a similar level. So not sure he'll make it, but again, hopefully has a career somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it's following a theme, isn't it? I think looking at the players that we have got out on loan as a general, we've really, kind of unanimously or not agreed on two, which is McCalmont and Bogus, that would probably come back and be able to challenge or compete in the u23s as we talk about them now. And I don't think many of the others could. And unfortunately for me, my just opinion, it might mean nothing, and I don't want to get anyone's back up, but I don't think Stevens is of that calibre. I hope he has a good long career. I hope he gets what he wants out of football. He seems like a pleasant enough chap, and like I said, I don't really know much more about him than what we see and read on social media and internet, which you take with a pinch of salt. But I don't think he's got enough to do it at the level we're at now. But I do hope he secures a good enough future and performs for a club lower down the leagues. And
I mean, generally, it's either with Bielsa, if you're out on loan, you're either out of his plans altogether and doesn't rate you, or you have forced his hand to go out on loan because you want the experience. And I think there's only 3 out of those guys that we've mentioned that were the ones that really wanted to go out on loan, which is Bogus, McCalmont and Gotts. And they're the only 3 that I could see. I know you mentioned 2, Rob. I do think Gotts still potentially could. I'm not 100% as much as the other guys, but still think he could. And it's those 3 who forced his hand for minutes that it feels like are the most likely, and the others are kind of out of his plans at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's right, finally, the last guy out on loan is Kun Temeneshkov, is how I'm going to pronounce that, and I'm going to stick with that.
I've got to interject here, Ross, because this guy, right, I've got a little bit of a strange feeling about this chap, and I've never been able to describe it. Not in that way.
Is it an erection, Rob?
No. He was banging goals in what seemed like for fun, and he was kind of the kind of, not the next big thing, but he was performing regularly, week in, week out. Bielsa even looked at him and said, he's got the ability, he's got the talent, he could make it. And then whether it was for personal reasons, whether it was for, wanting to be not in the UK and back or over in Spain, or he seems to have just, it just happened out of nowhere that he left. And for me, when you play Football Manager and you've got like a player that's kind of a regen player that comes up and you don't know why you like him, you just like him, you want him to stay in your squad, you want to stay in your team. That's how I feel about Kun. I think he's a great personality. I mean, I think on Instagram he's always doing some kind of like salsa dancing. He's loving his time over in Spain, and he's performing on the pitch as well. He's scoring goals. I know it's a lower level that he's playing at. It's Real Union, is it? If I'm correct, So again, he's a key part of that. And he seems to be scoring. I see him as a higher level than that. Again, I don't know why he's gone to a club low down. My issue, or what I see the issue being of him coming back to Leeds, is I just don't think he wants to be at us. I can't understand another reason why he would have just left so quickly, having had quite a few people wax lyrical over him. And I remember for a time I was tweeting a few people, sort of saying, has anyone heard about Kun? Where's Kun gone? He's missing off the loan watch. He was missing off the squad list. He wasn't on the retained list. So I was like, has he gone? What's happened to him? A bit like Gotts, as he just disappeared into the ether. No, then he popped up at Real Union. So I hope he comes back, and I hope he proves whatever has gone wrong right. But I can't see him coming back, if I'm really honest.
Like you, mate, I thought he was going to be a breakthrough star. I really liked him. The club seemed really keen on him. It felt like he was being pushed on as a future star, one to watch. But it just doesn't seem to have happened to him, does it? And I agree with you. Is it that he don't want to be here? I don't know. None of us know backstory, do we? But I mean, the only thing I will say, listen, comment on his YouTube if this is completely wrong. But I'm sure he's about 5'4". He's proper tiny.
He's a stocky. He's Bulgarian and international in under 21. Like,
mate, he looks like a fucking power lifter, doesn't he? More than a footballer.
His Wikipedia says he's 5'10". That is a lie.
Yeah, he doesn't look 5'10".
That himself.
But yeah, I don't see him making it. No. Do we know if he scored? How many goals he scored? Where is that Union?
He scored pretty much in quite a few games. I mean, he scored in their opening game. I watched the highlights of the second one that he'd shared himself on his Instagram. I think it was his highlight reel, and I saw he'd scored in there. He played against Real Sociedad in a game as well, and I think he's scoring. I don't have the stats, but he's scoring goals. He's knocking a few assists in. His physical presence is there. He's playing games. He's not sat on the bench or whatever. So yeah, he seems to be doing all right. But again, Real Union,
Yeah.
No offence to them, but I don't know what kind of standard they are. They're not particularly brilliant, are they? So
I realised I
It's a
called it
shame.
La Liga 2 earlier as well. By the way, it's La Liga B, innit? What a dickhead.
La Liga B, yeah. That's all right. So that's all the kids that are out on loan. There's lots of them. Also, this guy should be in the youth team, really. Pascal Stroik, he signed for Leeds on this date in 2018. Quite the journey he's been on as well.
Oh, how good was he the other day? When he
He
came
looked
on?
fantastic,
Short
didn't he? Yeah,
notice.
for Llorente. Yeah.
Short notice, came on, bossed it. He's been covering that position really anyway, hasn't he? I really like him. I like his attitude again. He just seems like he's just kind of got this, got the kind of nice guy bug off Aylin and just like taking it. He seems to be like, a younger Dutch version of Aylin with his personality. He's always smiling. He's always having a laugh and just enjoying playing football. He looks like he's enjoying playing
Feels
football.
like Water off a Duck's back done it. Like he's had a few shit, like his debut, if you remember, he gave away a lot of passes when he debuted in centre mid, didn't he, in the Championship.
Yeah.
But he's clearly very capable. I think he's going to go on to big things. And when you've got that, we talked about resilience with Jordan Stevens. I think where to be a big player, you've got to be able to take some stick, have bad performances, and carry on like it never happened. And he seems to have that for me. I genuinely think he could be a top centre half for us over the next decade. I really do.
I wouldn't play him again at CDM or CM.
No,
I wouldn't. He's a centre half.
He looks lost.
He's got to be centre half. He's one that I don't think Bielsa will succeed. I mean, you could probably prove me wrong. Who am I to question?
Yeah, and what'll happen, don't you? He'll definitely play that position.
He's going to absolutely dominate someone as a centre mid now, isn't he? But I just don't see him in that position. He doesn't look comfortable. He looks a bit out of his depth. And just listen, if he's putting in performances like he did at the weekend in centre back, then play him at centre half.
If it's him and Cooper for all rest of the season, I'm fine with that.
All of the left footers in the world. All of the left footers.
Yeah.
Poor Ayling.
It's weird, isn't it? I saw someone tweet that it was weird to see two left-footed centre halves, yet it doesn't feel weird to see two right-footed centre halves. It's a really good point. It sounds weird, doesn't it? But
And was it
Same with left-footed goalkeepers.
7 out of the 11 that played or were on the pitch during the final whistle were left-footed.
we love the lefties, mate. Love them.
So that's the loan watch. Now it's time for the player profile. Cody Drameh, whichever one you want to call him. One of those. Cookie, you've done the research. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, as usual, I've done the spiel, but always, guys, drop a comment if you've got any information where some of this is wrong. It's obviously off of the Tinterweb and a bit of my own opinion. So from what I found out about Cody Drameh, he turned 19 just at the beginning of December 2020. Looks a really exciting, creative right back, but he can play on either side, which is good for us. Clearly not scared of a challenge, likes to bomb up and down the wing, which is useful in sort of Bielsa ball, and a real powerful runner. He's also made a small number of appearances in his youth career as a right midfielder, which he's done twice, and as a centre-back 5 times. So that very typical Bielsa-style multi-position player capability. When he joined Leeds, in the interview he did, he said he was really happy to join a massive club, which you'd expect and how excited he was. But when he was responding to how he plays, he described himself as having a great engine, defending really well, that he gets up and down the pitch. But he acknowledged himself, which I thought was great to see, that he's sort of got that down-to-earth level to him. He said he needs to improve his attacking output, which he was hoping to gain from our coaches. He also cited seeing the number of young players who've made it through first-team debuts, which we've seen with most of the big signings we've made is a big part of the reason for wanting to join, alongside what you definitely expect, which is Bielsa. He actually cited what Bielsa had done with Benjamin Mendy was a direct inspiration for why he wanted to join Leeds in terms of what he did for his career, which is great to see. So he signed from Fulham for a fee in the region, rumoured to be £1 million. It was obviously undisclosed, so I had to know for definite. And had interest from Man City, so obviously a good player. And then really bizarrely, I saw he was also linked with Eintracht Frankfurt, which is obviously a far-fetched from Man City. But yeah, he signed a 4-year contract, so he's with us till 2024. He's an England youth international, 3 appearances for the under-18s when he was 17. And he's obviously just turned 19, but has already made 1 appearance for the under-20s. That was against Wales in a 2-0 friendly win. He did only come on as a sub for 15 minutes, but good to see him obviously being acknowledged at international level. Last season and the season before for Fulham, he's played 17 games in the Premier League 2 in both 18-19 and 19-20. In 18-19, he got 1 goal, 1 assist. Developed that a bit further. 19-20 got 7 assists and a goal in the Youth Cup. He's already made 10 appearances for us in the Premier League 2 this season. He's played 899 minutes, starting every game when he's been in the matchday squad, obviously aside from his naughty little ban for 2 yellow cards. And he's provided 1 assist so far. So it kind of... He's his own biggest critic, and you can hear that in what he says about his attacking output, because actually when you see him and some of the attacking players we've got, you'd probably expect him to have a larger number of assists, particularly how many goals we've scored, than he currently does. His last sending off, as we've already talked about, was against Sunderland in the last match before we played in the reverse fixture. But he appears to be one of the first names on the team sheet in that defence we've talked about that has really gone from strength to strength since they've sort of had a solid lineup there. The weird thing about Cody Drameh is for a player who signed for 7 figures in a youth team, there is actually very, very little information out there on the internet about Cody. So what I was going to say is, for anyone who does watch this, if you know anything about him, drop a comment if you know more information about his youth career or anything else about him. Because, you know, watching all the under-23s, I can give my view, but there's not a lot out there about his history. But my view is, honestly, exciting prospect. Ability to play either side is brilliant for us in terms of if we look at the left-back, right-back situation in the first team. It feels like he's maybe 12 to 18 months off breaking through, but maybe he'll do it a little bit sooner. But he's strong. He is a big lad, you know. He's very well developed for his age. And his defending looks good, which you don't often say about right-backs in this day and age. They do tend to be more attacking. He's got really good pace. So I'm really excited. Just needs to develop his passing accuracy, and in particular, his final ball, which, again, he self-critically knows that. And if he can do that, I think he'll be an absolute star. So that's the information I found out about him, but let us know if there's anything different out there.
Yeah, comment in our comments below. Rob, what do you make to him?
Yeah, I like him. Again, we referenced it before. Since the suspension, he's come back and he's playing out of his skin. I think his effort levels can't be faltered. You see that when you watch the under-23s in general, but he's not afraid. He'll try the kind of 1-2s and he'll bomb down the wing. It doesn't matter who's in front of him and playing alongside him in that Leeds shirt. He'll give it a go. Like Cookie, I think his passing accuracy needs to be tightened up. I think that sometimes lets him down. But to be fair to the lad, he backtracks well. He puts a tackle in. He puts a shift in. So it is what you want from a right back, isn't it? Whether he turns him into a full-blown right wing back and he pushes forward more, again, if that was to happen, I would like to see him develop his crossing, his final ball. But it's good that you mentioned. I didn't realise, I've not seen that information, Cookie, about him openly saying he wants to improve his attacking output because, like you say, recently he got the assist against Fulham, actually. So it bodes well if that's the way he's going. I agree. I think he's one of the first players on the team sheet. I think he picks himself in terms of his position. He seems to have commanded it. And I like him. I like the look of him. I hope he gets a chance to stay with us and break through. He's a player that I would like to see flex his style up further up. When maybe even this season, maybe when we're safe, you know. Aylin's playing a lot. He's had to be kind of versatile and shift in. And if we keep having the problems at centre half, you never know. Aylin might become a more permanent centre half, which I hope not, because I like him at right back, and I think obviously he likes playing at right back better. But that could be a way in for Drameh. You never know; he might get called up. We're not on the cup run, so it's a shame because if we were in the cup, he might have got some minutes in the first 11 in a cup game. But I like a lot of what he's done since his suspension, and I like the way he's bounced back from the criticism. We mentioned it earlier. Not a lot of that under-23 squad has faced much criticism because of how well we're doing, and rightly so. We are scoring goals for fun at home. We're putting in nitty-gritty, tough, resilient second-half performances to see games out when they're tight. The only one of the under-23s, or one of very few under-23s that's still with us and not on loan that I've seen take criticism, is Drameh for his first 3 or 4 performances. So it's nice to see he's got a bit of resilience about him as well.
Yeah, he's definitely overcome that. I think it's only going to take an injury to either Ayling or Dallas, and I think he's right in that squad because there aren't any other right backs, are there? That's it. We are very light on right backs.
And the fact he can cover both sides in particular is good. But I mean, you mentioned there about the 1 assist, Rob. I think you can see where he criticises himself because for last season he got 7 assists in 17 games. This year he's got 1 assist in 10. So if anything, his attacking output has reduced, but I mean that could be down to the finishing in the under-23s team, although you wouldn't think so with Greenwood and Gellhart. Or it could be his final ball. I think he's probably playing with slightly better players, which we're seeing, which is why we are where we are, and that he needs to improve that. But the fact that he knows that says a lot about the player himself. But he's a big, powerful lad. I could see him breaking through, and like you say, one injury in that situation, you could see that he could get an opportunity. He looks very good, and I love the fact that he's basing himself on Benjamin Mendy, who I know is getting a lot of stick at Man City these days. But I love him for the fact he loves Bielsa so much.
Yeah.
And on his day, you can't argue that Mendy is an absolutely superb wing back in the role that he
One
plays.
of the best fullbacks in the world.
100%.
The long-term contract as well. Like you say, he signed up till 24.
Committed.
So even if he doesn't quite make it, I think maybe some loan minutes, but I can easily see him making the subs bench sooner rather than later, unfortunately, with the way our first 11 back line is going down with injuries and bits of niggles and things like that. New pitch might help when the pitch is fitted, so hopefully. But yeah, I think more next season than this season. We'll probably see him in the first 11 or making an appearance, but I like the fact he's tied up for a decent contract, which you'd expect if we've paid that much for a youth player. Yeah. So looking forward to seeing him break through when it's his time to break through.
Yeah, right back's a massively important position in our first team. It's where a lot of our attacks start from.
So
and Ayling's going to be 30 next season. Yeah, he starts all the moves. The keeper always looks to the right back to start the moves. And
he was
Ayling's going to be 30.
Everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. I know we're on the youth pod, but Ayling was everywhere at the weekend. What a player.
Yeah, he was fantastic. But yeah, like I say, he's going to be 30 at start next season, and that's not going to slow him down. But it looks like there's a proper succession plan in place there, and that's really good to see.
He behaves like a 13-year-old anyway, Ayling, so I'm sure he's got the same body to match it.
Yeah, he's not going to slow down for another 5 6 years at least.
Kid, isn't he? Love him.
So there we go. That is the Loan Watch done. That is the player profile done. That is the match preview done. Unfortunately, no match review, but we'll be back next week with a match review of another Leeds United youth win and a preview for the next game for the kids to play. Where can people find us on Twitter? Let's start with you, Rob. Give Cookie a chance to figure out what his handle is.
At Juicy Rob, JUCEEROB. And if I don't see you through week, I'll see you through window.
Lovely. Cookie, where are you on Twitter these days?
Shall I do it in a Spanish accent? At LUFC Miguel.
There you go. Make sure you're following him. He's got a new account up set up, mainly just to talk about the youth stuff. So yeah, get involved with that. Yeah. You can find me at Rosbo984. You can find the podcast as a whole at Peacock's Raw. Follow the Adelites because that's where a lot of stuff comes from as well. Donnie does a fantastic job with all this sort of stuff, all the editing, all the time and effort he puts into the graphics. It's well above my level. I just sit here and talk. So yeah, give him a follow. He does cracking work, and there'll be a main pod back in a week. There'll be a match preview and a match review pod comes out as well, and then yeah, we'll be back this time next week probably. Yeah, can I just add to that? The one thing I would say to anyone watching, you want to watch the one next week as well, because we have a very special guest coming on, and we will be reviewing a very special signing that joined this year. They both have the same first name, and that is the only clue I will give you. And we're very excited to have that person on. So tune in this week and next. There you go, little breadcrumbs there. Comment in the YouTube comments if you think you know who it is and who we're going to be talking about. So yeah, that is it. We're done. It's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Rob. Goodbye. And goodbye from Cookie. Goodbye. And we'll see you later. Bye. Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. You should probably give them a follow as they're more interesting than us. A very special thanks to Adam Warner, Barney Stewart, Cookie, Ewan and Howard Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon and Rob, The Light Show and all our family and friends. So many games to play, don't care what's on your mind.